All right, copy the home plate for tonight. It's only 8 problems, only. You have it on your screen. I'll give you some time. Copy that, please. All those 8 problems, I want them done the way we go over the examples today again. Now, the reason I'm revisiting this, number one, because we haven't practiced this since last week, number one. Number two, because I did see that when we did this, I was using my camera, remember when I did the highlighting and all that? Well, somehow the video, it froze like halfway through. You can hear my voice, but the video stayed where it was. So this would, the new video that I make for this will help those that still have questions with this. All right. So our objective for today, can solve and graph absolute value 1 and 2 variable inequalities and systems. Now you don't need to get a Cornell note ready. You're going to be using the graphing paper. Okay. Like I said, we're going to revisit something that we already started last week. But I do want to do a recap of a couple of things. We already know the definitions, yes? Just in case Friday we have a pop party on definitions, yes? All right, good. Also, we covered absolute value, 1 variable, absolute value inequalities. And this we have been practicing on the warm-up. Is that correct? So that means we don't need to go over this one or this one. What I do want to wrap up, like we did last week, was this. Look up, please. When we solve for the absolute value, and the absolute value is by itself. Notice that it's by itself here, and it's by itself here. And if the inequality symbol is less than or equal to, we know that this is, oh, and by the way, these are positive numbers. That means this is an AND. Yes? Which means that if this is greater than or equal to positive numbers, that means this is a what? OR. Okay? From there, we covered this next one and this next one, and we ended up with stuff like this. An absolute value greater than or equal to then a negative number. And what did I say? That's a red flag whenever you have a negative number. And I said, at that point, analyze it. What comes out of the absolute value? A positive. This says that it's greater than or equal to a negative number. Is this true? Okay, here it goes again. Is it greater than a negative? Yes. Will it always be true? Yes. Does it matter what values I substitute in here? No, it always comes out as a positive because it's a distance. That means then that a solution would always be all real numbers. Are you with me? Okay, copy this one. Way at the bottom of your graph paper, at least have this one, example Q, and example super Q is as follows. Absolute value less than or equal to a negative. What comes out of the absolute value here? A positive. This is a negative. Is this less than that? Are positives less than negatives? No, that is not true. So therefore, what can we conclude on this one? No solution. So those are the only 2 special situations that we're going to encounter. So if it's a positive, yes, it is a solution. If it's a negative, I'm sorry, if it's greater than a negative or less than a negative, those are the 2 special situations. Okay? All right, from there it takes us to word problems. Remember when we did the word problems? Now for these, some of you still question as to, Mr. Q, why do we always write absolute value x minus? Well, remember in our general formula we have parentheses x minus h. That's where we get it from. But now instead of parentheses, what do we have? absolute value. And what stays all the time on the formula? The x and the minus. Okay? Of course, when they give you a limit of whatever it is, the unit of measure, it's less than or equal to. Sometimes they're going to be specific. They're going to say, like, it has to be less than that, than 76 degrees, or it could be 76 degrees. So that means you can do less than or equal to, but if they're very specific, then the only thing that you take away is the equal sign to make it less than whatever the amount they're giving. And from there, I remember I gave you one of these, remember? The little baby. Aww. Yes? Yes, Mr. King. All right, good. All right, so that brings us to this part. So the quick review for graphing and graphing inequalities. So if I gave you this one, we know this is a positive slope and it's going through -5. And it's a solid line because it has the equal sign. But this says f of x is greater than this. What values are greater than -5? Everything above it, so that's why we shade everything above this line. Are we there so far? From there, I can give you y less than -3x plus 7, and that's f of x less than -3x plus 7. That means it's a negative slope. That means that the line is going which way? Down, and it's causing that +7. But it's a dotted line. Why is it a dotted line or dashed line? Because it doesn't have the equal sign. So what does this say? F of x is less than that. What numbers are less than that? Everything below 7. That means we're going to shade everything below that line. Are we there so far? However, now that we have two functions on the same coordinate plane, do you guys see where the two shadings intersect? Here, up to right here, and right there. Does everybody see this? And what do we know about that? That's the solution. Nice. Set. What does that mean, Mr. Q? That any point in here, if I substitute into both inequalities, it makes it true. That would be the solution, anything in between there. How about here? Is this the solution? No. Is this the solution? No. Is this the solution right here? No. None of that is the solution, only where both of them overlap. Okay? And that brings us to this one. Okay? Your attention really quick. Look up, please. Now, in the last period, when I explained this, someone were saying, Mr. Q, where did you get your values? Okay, I'm going to start it off the same with them, then I'll show you where I get my values. The graph for this one is here. It's a V. Now, how did I get my values? So if I look at -1 of x, look up, -1 of x. If I substitute in that in here, what is the absolute value of -1? 1. So that means -1 is +1, so here's my point. Next value, -2. If I substitute in there, it's +2. So -2, +2. There it is. Now, some of you don't see it. If you don't see it, you need to make a table. X, f of x, -2. If I substitute in here, I get a +2, because that's what the absolute value of -2 is. -1. Substituted in there is what? 1, 0, 0, 1, 1, 2, 2. All these points are right here. I only added one more because -3 is what? 3. +3 is 3. Okay? So far, so good? All right. So this is our original function. Okay? Pay attention to this part. Ready? I'm going to show you all the different transformations so like that you see what everybody sees. F of x equals absolute value of x. But what if I did this? So you remember what's going to do to that original function. It's going to move it up 3 steps. The whole thing. The whole thing. So it's going to go 3. All right. Oh, I see, Mr. Q. So that means if you give me this, that means the original one, what's going to happen to the original? Tell your neighbor, please. It's going to go down 5 steps up to right there. Are we there so far? All right, let's crank it up a notch. F of x equals absolute value x minus, notice this is part of the formula. The only thing now I'm going to substitute a 7. Tell your neighbor what happens to the original function with that 7 in there. And move the whole v 7 steps to the right. That means I go, this is my vertex here, I go to here. So my function is going to be now over here. Are we doing? Yes? All right. Next. F of x equals absolute value x plus 5. Tell your neighbor what happens to that. It moves to the left. Now, some of you get confused, Mr. Q, I don't understand this part. Okay, remember the formula in our original formula has parentheses x minus h plus k. Is that correct? So what does that mean? That this is supposed to be a negative. But right now it's not. It's a positive. So what can we conclude? That this 5 before it's substituted in here looked like how? Negative 5. Because negative times a negative equals a positive. What does that mean? That it moves this whole v to negative 5. How are we doing? Yes? Okay. Crank it up a notch? Yeah? Here it goes. Once again, my original. What if I did this? This is now the value of a. Remember a on g of x equals a f of x. Remember that? So remember what's going to happen to this according to that whole number. It's going to stretch. That is correct. So now instead of being negative 1, 1, now it's going to be negative 1, 2. Negative 2, 2 is going to become negative 2, 4, because now we're multiplying times what? 2. It stretches. Do I need to do a fraction one? I think we got it, but here we go, just in case. F of x equals 1/2 absolute value of x. Let me show you what it's going to look like. Negative 1, the original was 1, but now they're saying to do half of that. So negative 1 what? Half. Negative 2 was 2, but now half of 2 is what? 1. What did it do? It compressed it. Are we doing yes? All right. Last, let's see, before I move on to the inequality. F of x equals, let me draw first the original one. All right, so that's this one. Let me show you now this. Look at it. Tell you never the 3 different transformations that's going to happen to the original one. Talk it over with your neighbors. All right. Who sees that it's going to stretch? Okay, it's going to stretch. Next, it's going to move 6 steps to the left over here, and then 7 steps down. So that means the vertex, this one, going to go 6 and 7, so our vertex will be right here. Do you agree with that? Okay. Now let's see the vertex according to this. Look up. Some of you struggle with this, and I say, whenever I say, find me the vertex, you're saying, this is where I don't understand, Mr. Q. Well, let me show you. Underneath, whenever you get a function and I ask you for the vertex, just write x minus h plus k. By looking at this, which one's the easy one? K, so that one goes right here, -7. What is h? 6, but this one's a positive and it should be a what? A negative. So what is the opposite of 6? -6. Let's see if my vertex is at -6, -7. Yep, there it is. From the corner. How are we doing? A little bit better? All right, so the only thing from this point forward is making sure that you understand the inequality portion. Here it goes. The inequality portion is as follows. The original function was here when it was just an equation. You agree with that? Yes? All right. However, whenever they have f of x is greater, f of x is greater, that means we're going to shade everything above the v. And how do we know where to stop? Well, you need to stretch it all the way so that you know that you need to highlight everything all the way to the end. However, what if it says f of x is less than absolute value of x? Well, that means, guys, that from now on, when it's less than, we shade everything below the v. Below the v. Are we there? All right, let's crank it up a notch. Here we go. On your big graph paper, top left, copy this one, solving graphs of system. 2 times the absolute value x plus 2 minus 10 less than -4. Now, like I mentioned before, some of the curriculum out there, the books, doesn't matter if the one we have or others have, they usually make the common mistake assuming that you guys understand what they're talking about. Look what the book shows. The book shows this. Look up. It just shows, it shows this. Solve, they give you this, and they give you a coordinate plane. So what are they assuming that you know about this giving you a coordinate plane? That it's a system. That's what they assume that you know. Because what if they don't know that you know this is a system? You just solve it and then you end up with what? And you just graph it and that's it, right? Like the warm-up. But in this case, it is a system. That's why I'm having to show you how to make it into a system. So let's do that. Do that together. Do a bracket. If we were to cover this first part, look up. There it is. What do you see? Less than -4. That's our g of x. G of x is less than -4. So that means if I uncover this and I was to cover the other side, that means we would have f of x. Now, for those of you that need just something to remember, if g of x is less than, that means f of x has to be greater than. It just does the opposite. Okay? Yes. So let's write whatever's left. 2 times the absolute value x plus 2 minus 10. All right, let's graph the blue one. That's the easiest one, yes? So we're at what? -4 of y. -4 of y is down here. I'm going to use blue. Also, what do you guys notice? That the inequality does not have an equal sign. That means it's a dotted or a dashed line. Dashed line going through -4. There it is. Then it says, g of x is less than -4. What values are less than -4 of y like that? Everything where? down. That is correct. So we're going to shade everything below that dotted line. All right. Now check this out. Look up to the screen, guys. Here's our new function here. Tell your neighbor the 3 different transformations that are going to happen if this was an original V. What are the 3 transformations that are going to happen to the original V? Stretch, 2 to the left, and 10 down. So that means we can identify our vertex. Is that correct? Vertex. Let's do that first. Now, once again, some of you that struggle with that, remember, right above it or right below it. Oh, sorry. Above it or below it, write parentheses x minus h plus k. Why do I write that above it or below it? So I can look at it and find my h and my k, which is the vertex. So which is the easy one? The k, which is what? Negative 10. I got that. What is my h? It's supposed to be a 2, but this is a positive, so what would be the h now? Negative 2. Negative 2. Because negative 2 times negative, it becomes a positive 2. Let's plot that point, see where it's going to be at. The vertex will be at negative 2, negative 10. Negative 2, negative 10, which is down here. All right, so now that we have that, we need points. And how do we get our points? X, f of x. Negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, 2. All right, what's my first value? Negative 2. I substitute that in here. I'm going to show you the work just for that one. 2 times negative 2 plus 2 minus 10. What is negative 2 plus 2? 0. What is 2 times 0? 0. What is 0 minus 10? Negative 10. Okay, I'm going to go to the next one. Negative 1. So I substitute that in here. Negative 1. What is 2 minus 1? Okay, let me show you. 2 times negative 1 plus 2 minus 10. 2 minus 1 is 1. What is the absolute value of 1? 1 times 2. 2 minus 10, that is negative 8. You guys see a pattern here for me. What's my next value? Negative 6, and then negative 4 and negative 2. Let's plot those points. Negative 2, negative 10. We already have it. Negative 1, negative 8. 0, negative 6. 1, negative 4. And 2, negative 2. So this side, we already have. There it is. Make sure you extend it, and it's a dotted line because it's not equal to. There it is. So what do we need? We need the other side. So that means we have an imaginary line of symmetry going to the vertex. And what does that help us with, Mr. Q? Well, it helps us reflect all the points on one side to the other side. So I'm going to start at negative 8. Here's a point, one step away from here. So it means on the left side, there should be a point on this side. I'm going to go to negative 6. How many steps is this point away? 2. That means on the other side, there should be a point 2 steps away. Go to negative 4. There's a point 1, 2, 3 steps away. So there should be 1, 2, 3 steps away this side. On that negative 2, it's 1, 2, 3, 4 steps away. 1, 2, 3, 4 steps away. And now that I have that, let me zoom out. Graph the array going that way. There it is. So far, so good? Yeah, I can see to you. I'm going to switch to a pink highlighter. Let's see what it says. F of x is greater than. Where am I going to shade? Below the V or on top of it? On top. So I'm going to go everything above the V. All right. Can you identify where both shadings overlap? Tell your neighbor where they overlap, please. Now you can use a third different highlighter, or you can use a different color just to box it in and show. I'm going to show you in red. This is where they overlap, right there, which means this is a solution, guys. So where does it start on the x value from left to right? The x value is -5 right there. It keeps going, and where does it stop? At +1. So that means the domain for the solution is in between -5 and 1. Now check this out. What goes in between? X less than and less than. Tell your neighbor, why didn't we write or equal to? Less than only, not less than or equal to. Because the lines are what? Dotted or dashed. It doesn't include the points on the line. Okay, show me how simple you are so far. Okay, now we're getting there. Go to the other side. Let's do one more. Yes? No, for right now, just fill in. Okay, copy this one. Solve and graph the system. Absolute value x minus 4 minus 6 greater than or equal to -5. See if you can write your system by yourself. All right, let's see. Alejandro, give me g of x. Thank you. And f of x. Tony? All right, look at f of x, everyone. Look at f of x. Tell your neighbor the transformations that are going to happen to the original v. What's the original v going to do? That is correct. 4 to the right and down 6. So with that said, up here I'm going to write vertex. So you need the vertex for f of x, please. Vertex for f of x. Everyone? +4, -6. That is correct. I'm going to plot that. +4, -6. That means that our v is going to end up somewhere over here. Okay? All right. Let's shade, graph and shade g of x equals -5. I'm going to do that in blue. -5. And it's a solid line this time. Why solid? Because it has the equal to sign. All right. Then it says g of x is greater than. What does that mean? Everything where? On top or above. So we're going to shade everything above. All right. X, f of x, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2. All right. My first value, I'm going to substitute in here, -2. Absolute value, -2 minus 4 minus 6. What is -2 and -4? -6 What is the absolute value of negative 6? 6. What is 6 minus 6? 0. Next value, negative 1. I'm not going to write it out just for the sake of time. What is negative 1 minus 4? Negative 5. Absolute value of negative 5 minus 6. What is the absolute value of negative 5? 5 minus 6, that's negative 1. What do you guys think the next value is? Negative 2, negative 3, negative 4. That is correct. Negative 2, 0. Negative 1, negative 1. 0, negative 2. 1, negative 3. 2, negative 4. Oh, 2, negative 4. All right. So I'm going to sketch my ray going this way. There it is. But we need the other side, don't we? So here's my imaginary line of symmetry. And that'll help me plot my other points. Is that correct? So this point right here is how many steps away from it? 2 at negative 4. So I go this way 2. There it is. At negative 3, this one is 1, 2, 3 steps away. 1, 2, 3. At negative 2, this one is 1, 2, 3, 4 steps away, and so on and so forth. There it is. And then lastly, I'm going to switch to pink highlighter. It says f of x is less than. Where am I going to shade? Below the v. Below the v. Uh-oh, now we have a little dilemma. Do you guys see it? Check this out. If you notice, there's no longer two areas overlapping in the center. Now we have overlapping on this side and overlapping on this side. So what happened? Now it's split it into two sections. That means the domain would be an org. What's my x value here? Where does it start? It's about 2.5. Or is it 2? Look at it. Isn't it about right here? It's about 2.5, so it's x less than or equal to 2.5. And where's this one beginning? It's about right there, which is what? X is greater than or equal to 5.5. So what does that mean, Mr. Q? We write it as solution set of x such that x less than or equal to 2.5 or x greater than or equal to 5.5. And that's our domain for the solution. You guys see it? Now let's see the previous one. The previous one looked like this. Only one section, so it was what kind? An and. How many sections here? 2. That's why it say what? Or. As you're wrapping up, look up, guys, really quick. Look up. If I was to rewrite this, this is g of x greater than or equal to 3 and f of x less than or equal to 2x plus 4 minus 10. Look up. Look up. This is the only one that's going to be different for the h. Look up. Whenever you have a coefficient here for x, h, to find h, you need to write this equal to 0 and solve for x. That would be your h. Did everybody understand what I said? You write whatever's inside equal to 0, and that's how you find your h. Have a good one, guys. Enjoy your home play. There is tutoring. If I don't see you guys tomorrow. Bye. Tutoring is free. Yeah, you solve minus 4 divide by 2, so x equals -2, h is -2. Bye.